The Underworld is a place where the living dare not tread, a shadowy world that lies just beyond our reach. It's a realm where the souls of the departed linger, waiting for whatever comes next. The idea of the Underworld has always been tied to the mysteries of death, the unknown, and the power that some believe lies within the hands of those who can tap into its secrets. Across cultures and through the ages, this dark and silent place has been seen as a source of untold power, a place where magic and death meet, blending into something beyond comprehension. In the silence of night, when the world is asleep, the Underworld calls. The air grows cold, and a chill runs down your spine, as if unseen eyes are watching. This is the time when the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the whispers of the Underworld grow louder. The stories tell of a place where souls wander, where the dead are not gone but merely waiting, suspended between two worlds. In this place, sorcery thrives, for what could be more powerful than controlling the forces that govern life and death? The Underworld is not just a resting place for the dead, it is a land of shadows where the forces of magic gather. In ancient Greece, they spoke of Hades, a place ruled by a god who held sway over the dead. But it was not just the dead who lived there, witches, too, found their power in this dark place. They whispered spells that could summon spirits, bring the dead back to life, or send them into eternal torment. The Underworld was their ally, a source of strength that made their magic feared by all. In the cold lands of the north, the Norse people believed in Hel, a goddess who ruled the world of the dead. She was feared, not just for her power over the dead, but because she was known to give witches the power to see beyond the veil of death. Those who dared to enter her domain sought knowledge that no living person should have. They learned to speak with the dead, to ask questions, to hear answers from beyond the grave. It was said that the witches who had walked in Hel's realm could never be the same. Their eyes, once filled with life, now held the darkness of the Underworld, a darkness that chilled the soul. In Egypt, the Underworld was called the Duat, a place of endless night where the dead journeyed through trials and tests. Here, the power of magic was everywhere. Witches who understood the ways of the Duat could control the forces that decided the fate of souls. They knew the names of the gods and the words of power that could open the gates of the Underworld. It was said that they could even change the fate of a soul, turning the doomed into the blessed, or dragging the innocent into darkness. The Duat was not just a place of the dead, it was a place where magic ruled, and where those who understood its power could bend reality to their will. In the depths of the Underworld, where light cannot reach, the boundary between life and death disappears. Witches who have walked these dark paths know that the dead are never far away. They feel the presence of the spirits, see the shadows move, and hear the whispers in the darkness. They are not afraid, for they know that the Underworld is a place of power, a place where the magic of life and death mingles and becomes something more. The Underworld has always been a place of fear and fascination. For those who seek power, it is a place of opportunity. The sorcerers and witches who reach into its depths do so with a mixture of fear and awe, knowing that what they find there could destroy them or make them more powerful than they ever dreamed. The Underworld is a place where the rules of the living world do not apply. It is a place where the dead speak, where time stands still, and where the magic of death reigns supreme. The Underworld is not a place that can be easily understood. It is a place of mystery, of power, and of death. It is a place where the dead find rest or torment, where the living can only visit in their dreams or nightmares. But for those who understand its power, the Underworld is not just a place of death, it is a place of magic, a place where the forces that govern life and death can be touched, controlled, and used to shape the world of the living. When the night is still, and the world is quiet, the Underworld feels closer than ever. The shadows deepen, and the air grows thick with the weight of something unseen. In this moment, the power of the Underworld can be felt, a power that has drawn witches and sorcerers to its depths for centuries. They seek the power of death, the magic of the Underworld, and the knowledge that lies hidden in its dark corners. The Underworld is a place where the living and the dead meet, where magic and death are one, and where those who are brave enough to seek it can find power beyond their wildest dreams. In every culture, the Underworld is a place of dread, but it is also a place of incredible power. It is the home of the dead, but also the source of the most potent magic. The witches who seek its power are those who understand that death is not an end, but a transformation, a change that can be harnessed and used. They know that in the underworld, the lines between life and death blur, and that the magic found there is the most powerful of all. When you feel the cold wind on your neck, when the shadows seem to move, and when the night feels darker than it should, you are feeling the presence of the underworld. It is always there, just beyond our reach, waiting. It is a place of death, yes, but also of magic, a place where the most ancient and powerful forces lie in wait. And those who dare to seek it may find more than they ever hoped for, or more than they ever feared. The underworld is a place where magic lives, where death is not the end, and where those who understand its power can touch the very fabric of the universe. In the darkness of ancient times, before the world was shaped by the hands of men, there were whispers of beings who walked between the lands of the living and the dead. These were not gods, nor mere mortals, but something in between, women who had touched the edges of the underworld and had come back with the power to shape the fates of souls. They were the first witches, their names lost to time, but their legends echo through the ages. They were born in the shadows, in places where the veil between life and death was thin. These women were feared and revered, for they held a power that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. It is said that they could see beyond the world of the living, that they could hear the voices of the dead, and that they knew the secrets of the underworld. Their eyes saw what others could not, and their hearts were attuned to the silent cries of the spirits that wandered in the darkness. In the dead of night, when the world was silent and the stars hung like distant lanterns in the sky, these witches would gather. They would sit by the flickering light of a fire, their faces hidden in the shadows, and they would speak the names of the dead. It was said that they could call forth the spirits from the underworld, guiding them back to the world of the living for a brief moment, long enough to share their wisdom, to settle old scores, or to deliver messages to those left behind. These first witches were not mere mortals playing with powers they did not understand. They were the daughters of darkness, born with the knowledge of the underworld coursing through their veins. From a young age, they knew they were different. They could feel the presence of spirits around them, hear their whispers, and see the shadowy forms that others could not. As they grew, they learned to control this power, to call upon the spirits at will, and to guide them between the worlds. It is said that these witches were chosen by the underworld itself. They were marked by the gods of death, given the gift of sight, and tasked with guiding the souls of the dead to their final resting place. This was not a task they took lightly. The weight of the dead was heavy on their shoulders, but they bore it with the strength that only those touched by darkness could possess. In ancient Greece, there were tales of the Lamia, a witch who walked the lands of the living, but whose heart belonged to the underworld. She was known to have the power to call forth the spirits of the dead, to bend them to her will, and to send them back to the darkness from which they came. The Lamia was feared, not just for her power, but for the coldness in her eyes, the emptiness that came from living too long in the shadow of death. It was said that she could guide souls to the afterlife, leading them by the hand through the darkened paths of the underworld, until they reached the river that marked the boundary between the worlds. In the cold lands of the north, the Volva were witches who were said to have the power to walk the lands of the dead. These women were wise, their knowledge of death and the afterlife unmatched. They were called upon in times of need, when the dead refused to rest, or when the living needed guidance from those who had passed on. The Volva would sit by the fire, their eyes closed, and their voices would hum with the ancient songs of the dead. It was said that they could see the spirits, that they could speak with them, and that they could guide them to the afterlife, ensuring that they found peace. In the deserts of Egypt, there were witches who were said to have the power to walk the sands of the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. These women were the keepers of the dead, their magic woven into the very fabric of the afterlife. They knew the paths that led through the darkness, the words of power that could open the gates of the underworld, and the rituals that could guide a soul safely to its final resting place. It was said that these witches could even bring a soul back from the dead, pulling it from the darkness of the Duat and returning it to the world of the living, though such a power came at a great cost. The first witches of the underworld were not born of this world. They were touched by the darkness, their souls bound to the lands of the dead. They walked the paths between life and death, their footsteps echoing in the silence of the underworld. They were the guides of the dead, the keepers of the souls, and the wielders of a power that could change the course of fate itself. These women were not just witches, they were something more. They were the daughters of the underworld, the ones who held the keys to the gates of death. Their power was feared, for it was a power that could not be tamed, a power that came from the darkest corners of existence. But they were also respected, for they held the knowledge of the dead, the wisdom of the afterlife, and the ability to guide souls to their final resting place. The first witches were not bound by the laws of the living. They moved between worlds, their souls untouched by the passage of time. They were eternal, their names whispered in the dark corners of the world, their power undiminished by the centuries that passed. They were the first, the ones who paved the way for all who would come after, the ones who taught the living that death was not the end, but merely a new beginning. In the silence of the night, when the world is asleep and the darkness wraps around you like a cloak, you can still feel their presence. The first witches of the underworld are still there, guiding the souls of the dead, walking the paths between life and death, their power as strong as it was in the ancient times. They are the keepers of the dead, the guides of the afterlife, and the ones who will always be there, in the darkness, waiting. In the stillness of the night, when the moon hangs high in the sky, there is a presence that can be felt, a whisper on the wind, a shadow at the edge of your vision. This is the realm of Hecate, the ancient goddess who stands at the crossroads of life and death, of the known and the unknown. She is the keeper of the keys, the one who holds the power over witchcraft, the underworld, and all the mysteries that lie in the darkness. Hecate was not like the other gods of Olympus. While they reveled in the sunlit world of the living, Hecate chose the shadows, where the light of day could not reach. She was born of the night, her power rooted in the mysteries of the dark. It is said that her eyes could see into the very soul, that she could peer into the hearts of men and women, revealing their deepest fears, their hidden desires. But more than that, Hecate was the guide of the dead, leading them through the labyrinth of the underworld to their final destination. In ancient Greece, Hecate was revered and feared in equal measure. Her name was spoken in hushed tones, for to invoke her was to call upon the power of the night itself. She was often depicted holding torches, lighting the way through the darkness, her face serene but filled with an otherworldly wisdom. She stood at the crossroads, a place where the living and the dead could meet, where choices were made that could alter the course of destiny. The witches of ancient times were drawn to Hecate, for she was their patron, their protector. They looked to her for guidance, for strength, for the power to walk between worlds. It was said that Hecate's voice could be heard in the whispers of the wind, that her presence could be felt in the cool breath of night. To those who served her, she granted great power, the ability to see beyond the veil, to summon the spirits of the dead, to cast spells that could shape the world. Hecate's connection to the underworld was deep and unbreakable. She was not just a guide, she was a guardian of its secrets, a mistress of the shadows that lay beyond the reach of the living. When the souls of the dead arrived at the crossroads, it was Hecate who decided their fate. Would they find peace, or would they wander in the darkness for eternity? Only she knew the answer, and her judgment was final. But Hecate was more than just a goddess of death. She was also the protector of those who stood at the crossroads of life, those who faced difficult choices, those who were lost in the darkness of uncertainty. She was the goddess of the in-between, the one who understood the pain of transition, the fear of the unknown. To invoke Hecate was to seek clarity, to find the courage to make a choice, even when the path ahead was shrouded in darkness. The witches who followed Hecate knew that their power came not just from the spells they cast or the rituals they performed, but from their connection to her. She was the source of their strength, the wellspring of their magic. When they called upon her, they could feel her presence, a cold hand on their shoulder, a whisper in their ear, guiding them through the night. They knew that with Hecate by their side, they could face any challenge, overcome any obstacle, for she was the embodiment of power in its purest form. Hecate's influence extended beyond the world of the living and the dead. She was the goddess of witchcraft, and her power flowed through the veins of every witch who called upon her. It was said that Hecate herself had taught the first witches the secrets of their craft, that she had shown them how to harness the power of the moon, how to speak with the spirits, how to command the forces of nature. To be a witch was to be a servant of Hecate, to walk in her footsteps, to carry her torch through the darkness. In the stillness of the night, when the world sleeps and the shadows grow long, Hecate's presence is felt most strongly. She is there, standing at the crossroads, her torches burning bright, her eyes watching over those who seek her guidance. She is the keeper of the keys, the guardian of the underworld, the goddess of witchcraft. And in her presence, there is a power that is both terrifying and awe-inspiring, a power that speaks to the very soul, that stirs the heart, that leaves one breathless with the weight of its truth. To know Hecate is to understand the nature of power, of choice, of the inescapable pull of the underworld. She is the one who stands at the threshold, who holds the door open, who guides the lost and the weary to their final destination. She is the beginning and the end, the light in the darkness, the voice that calls out from the shadows. And in the silence of the night, when the world is still and the air is thick with the scent of mystery, Hecate is there, watching, waiting, her power as eternal as the night itself. In the mists of ancient Ireland, where the land is steeped in mystery and the echoes of the past linger in the air, there is a figure who rises from the shadows, feared and revered in equal measure. She is the Morrigan, the Phantom Queen, a goddess whose very name sends shivers down the spine. Her presence is felt in the stillness before a battle, in the cries of ravens circling above, and in the whispers of fate that drift through the wind. The Morrigan is not just a goddess of war, she is the embodiment of death itself, a force that transcends the mortal realm and reaches deep into the underworld. Her powers are vast and terrifying, her influence felt far and wide. She does not merely observe the flow of battle, she directs it, guiding warriors to their doom, marking those who are destined to fall. Her gaze can pierce through the bravest of hearts, instilling a fear that no shield can ward off. To see the Morrigan on the eve of battle is to know that death is near, that the line between life and death is as thin as a blade's edge. In the lore of the Celts, the Morrigan is a shapeshifter, able to take on many forms. She appears as a beautiful maiden, luring men to their fate with a seductive smile, or as a fearsome crone, her face twisted with the knowledge of countless deaths. But most often, she is seen as a raven, black as night, her wings beating a funeral dirge as she soars above the battlefield. The sight of a raven on the battlefield was a sign that the Morrigan was near, watching, waiting, choosing who would live and who would die. The Morrigan's connection to the underworld is as deep as the roots of the ancient oaks that dot the Irish landscape. She is not just a goddess of war, she is the harbinger of death, the one who ushers souls into the afterlife. When the battle is over, and the bodies of the fallen lie strewn across the field, it is the Morrigan who gathers the souls of the dead, guiding them to their final rest. Her voice can be heard in the wail of the banshee, a mournful cry that chills the blood and foretells death. But the Morrigan is not just a figure of doom. She is also a goddess of fate, weaving the threads of destiny with hands as cold as the grave. She decides who will rise and who will fall, who will live and who will die. Her power is absolute, her judgment final. There is no escaping the Morrigan, no bargaining with her. She is the keeper of fate, and her will is unbreakable. The Morrigan's association with witchcraft is as old as the hills she roams. Witches who sought power in the ancient world often invoked her name, calling upon her to grant them the ability to see into the future, to bend fate to their will. The Morrigan's power was feared and respected by all who practiced the dark arts, for she held the keys to life and death, to victory and defeat. To call upon the Morrigan was to walk a dangerous path, one that could lead to great power or to certain doom. In the darkness of the night, when the world is quiet and the only sound is the rustling of leaves in the wind, the Morrigan can be felt. Her presence is a chill in the air, a shadow that moves just beyond the edge of sight. She is the embodiment of the unknown, the terror that lies in wait at the end of life. But she is also the strength that drives warriors to fight, the force that pushes them to their limits, to face their fears and meet their fate head-on. The Morrigan is more than just a goddess, she is a force of nature, as unstoppable as the tide, as inevitable as death. She is the Phantom Queen, the bringer of death, the weaver of fate. To know the Morrigan is to know the darkest corners of the soul, to confront the fear that lies in the heart of every warrior, every mortal. She is the shadow that follows you, the whisper in the night, the presence that cannot be ignored. In the end, the Morrigan's power is undeniable, her influence inescapable. She is the one who decides the outcome of every battle, who guides the souls of the dead to the underworld, who shapes the destiny of all who live. Her power is as ancient as the land itself, as eternal as the stars in the night sky. And in her presence, there is a sense of awe, of fear, of respect that goes beyond words, a recognition of the power that lies within the darkness, within death, within the Morrigan herself. In the cold, shadowy depths of the Norse underworld, where the dead find their final rest, there reigns a queen unlike any other. Her name is Hel, a figure both feared and shunned, a goddess whose very presence sends shivers down the spine. She is the daughter of Loki, the trickster god, and Angerboda, a giantess of fearsome power, born into a world where light barely reaches, and warmth is a distant memory. Hel is a being of two worlds, half alive, half dead. One side of her is a vision of a living woman, pale and somber, while the other is a ghastly, decayed corpse, a reminder of the death she governs. Her domain, also called Hel, is a realm of shadows and silence, a place where the souls of those who did not die in battle find themselves. It is a land of the forgotten, where the cries of the living fade into whispers, and the only sound is the soft, unending echo of the departed. For those who end up in Hel's kingdom, there is no glory, no feasting in the halls of Valhalla. Instead, they walk among the shades, their lives reduced to memories, their existence a shadow of what once was. Hel's rule is absolute, and her judgment is final. She does not wield power with a heavy hand, but with a cold, indifferent grip, as if the fate of the souls in her care means nothing to her. But behind her icy demeanor lies a power that even the bravest of gods would not dare challenge. Hel's connection to witchcraft is as old as the mountains that surround her realm. She is not a goddess of light or of hope, but of the dark arts, of magic that twists and turns, like the roots of an ancient tree buried deep in the earth. The witches of the Norse world, those who sought to harness the forces of the underworld, often invoked her name, calling upon her to lend them the strength to command the spirits of the dead, to speak with those who had passed beyond the veil. In the stillness of the night, when the world above is quiet and the stars are hidden behind clouds, Hel's influence can be felt in the shivers that run down the spine, in the cold breath of wind that seems to come from nowhere. She is the unseen force that moves in the darkness, the whisper that calls out to the living, tempting them to stray too close to the world of the dead. Her power is not in loud, thunderous displays, but in the subtle, almost imperceptible way she weaves her influence into the world of the living. Those who practiced dark magic in the Norse world knew of Hel's power, and they revered it. She was a guide to the afterlife, but also a guardian of secrets that lay buried deep within the earth. Witches who sought to manipulate the threads of fate, who wanted to control life and death, would call upon her, offering sacrifices in exchange for a glimpse into the other side. But Hel's favor was not easily won, and those who sought her aid often paid a price far greater than they had bargained for. Hel's face, half beautiful, half rotted, is a reflection of the duality of life and death, of the balance that she maintains in her cold, dark kingdom. She does not mourn the souls that come to her, nor does she celebrate their arrival. To Hel, death is simply a fact of existence, a part of the natural order that she upholds with an unwavering hand. Her gaze is said to be as cold as the northern winds, and her touch as numbing as the frost that covers the land in winter. There is no warmth in Hel's domain, no comfort for the souls who find themselves in her care. But there is a strange kind of peace, a stillness that comes with the acceptance of death, of the finality that Hel embodies. She is not a goddess of chaos or destruction, but of the inevitable, the unchanging truth that all must face in the end. Her kingdom is not a place of torment, but of quiet resignation, where the dead can finally rest after the struggles of life. Hel's influence on the world of the living is subtle, but profound. She is the reminder of mortality, the shadow that follows every man and woman from the moment of birth. In the eyes of those who fear death, she is a figure of terror, a dark queen who holds the keys to the afterlife. But to those who accept the cycle of life and death, she is a necessary force, a guardian of the balance that keeps the world in order. In the stories of the Norse, Hel is often overlooked, her role overshadowed by the more glamorous gods and goddesses of Asgard. But her power is no less formidable, her influence no less far-reaching. She is the keeper of the dead, the one who stands at the threshold between life and death, a figure of quiet strength and cold determination. To know hell is to confront the reality of death, to face the darkness that lies at the end of all things. In the end, hell is a queen without a crown, a goddess who rules over a kingdom of shadows. Her power is not in her beauty, nor in her strength, but in her unwavering control over the forces of death and the underworld. She is a figure of fear and respect, a reminder that death comes for all, and that in the end, we are all subject to her cold, indifferent gaze. Hell is the darkness that lies beneath the surface of life, the silent shadow that follows us all, waiting, watching, and in the end, embracing us in her cold, eternal arms. Circe's name echoes through the corridors of ancient myth, a name whispered in both fear and awe. In the heart of a secluded island, surrounded by the endless expanse of the sea, she sits alone, her presence a beacon to those lost in the waves. Her eyes, sharp and knowing, seem to hold the mysteries of the world, while her hands, delicate yet powerful, weave enchantments that can alter the very fabric of reality. Circe is no ordinary woman, she is the embodiment of transformation, a sorceress whose powers extend far beyond the mortal realm. Circe's Island, Aeaea, is a place shrouded in an eerie tranquility where the line between the natural and the supernatural blurs. It is here, amidst the whispers of the wind and the rustling of leaves, that Circe practices her craft. The animals that roam her island are not mere beasts, they are men who have fallen victim to her spells, transformed into creatures that reflect their inner natures. The wild boars, the lions, the wolves, all were once sailors, warriors, men of pride and arrogance, who underestimated the power of the enchantress they encountered. To those who find themselves stranded on Aeaea, Circe offers a warmth that is both inviting and dangerous. She greets them with a smile, her voice soft and soothing, her beauty enchanting. But beneath this gentle facade lies a mind as sharp as a blade, a will as unyielding as stone. When Circe speaks, her words carry the weight of ancient magic, a power that has been honed over centuries. She is not just a witch, she is a force of nature, capable of bending reality to her will. Circe's ability to transform men into animals is not merely a trick of magic, it is a reflection of her deep understanding of the human soul. She sees through the masks that people wear, down to their very essence. When she transforms a man into a pig or a wolf, she is not punishing him but revealing his true nature. Her magic strips away the veneer of civilization, exposing the primal instincts that lie beneath. In Circe's eyes, this is not cruelty, but a form of truth-telling, a way to unmask the lies that people tell themselves. Yet Circe's power is not limited to physical transformation. Her connection to the underworld gives her access to knowledge and abilities that are far beyond the reach of mortal understanding. She can summon the dead, speak with spirits, and navigate the dark paths that lead to the realm of Hades. This connection to the underworld makes her both feared and respected by gods and mortals alike. Circe is a bridge between the worlds of the living and the dead, a guardian of secrets that are too dangerous for most to comprehend. Despite her power, Circe is not immune to loneliness. Her island is a paradise, but it is also a prison, a place where she is isolated from the rest of the world. The men who come to her island are fleeting visitors, drawn by her beauty and her magic, but they do not stay. They either leave, transformed by her spells, or they perish, unable to withstand the force of her power. Circe's life is one of solitude, her only companions the animals she has created and the spirits she can summon from the underworld. This solitude has made Circe both wise and weary. She has seen the folly of men, the arrogance of gods, and the inevitability of fate. She understands the cycles of life and death, of transformation and decay, better than anyone. This knowledge gives her a sense of detachment, a calm acceptance of the way things are. But it also brings with it a deep sadness, a longing for connection that her power cannot fulfill. Circe is a goddess in all but name, yet she is also profoundly human, shaped by the same desires and fears that drive the rest of us. Circe's story is one of transformation, not just of those she encounters, but of herself. Over time, she begins to question the use of her powers, to wonder if there is more to her existence than the endless cycle of transformation and isolation. Her encounter with Odysseus, the wily hero of Greek myth, is a turning point. Unlike the others, Odysseus does not fall prey to her magic. Instead, he challenges her, forcing her to see herself in a new light. In him, she finds an equal, someone who understands the complexities of life and death, of power and vulnerability. Through Odysseus, Circe begins to explore the possibility of change, of growth beyond the confines of her island and her magic. She learns that true power is not just about control, but about understanding, compassion, and the ability to connect with others. Circe's story is a testament to the transformative power of love, not in the romantic sense, but in the sense of empathy and connection that bridges the gap between individuals. In the end, Circe remains a figure of mystery, her power undiminished, but her understanding of herself and the world around her deepened. She is still the sorceress of transformation, the enchantress who can turn men into beasts with a flick of her wrist. But she is also more than that. She is a woman who has seen the depths of the human soul and has come to understand the complexities of existence. Circe's story is not just about magic and transformation, it is about the journey of self-discovery, the quest for meaning in a world that is constantly changing. And in this, she becomes not just a figure of fear and awe, but a symbol of the enduring power of the human spirit. In the dense, shadowed forests of Slavic lands, where the trees seem to whisper secrets and the air is thick with mystery, there dwells an ancient figure who is neither fully alive nor entirely dead. Her name is Baba Yaga, a name that strikes fear into the hearts of those who hear it, yet also kindles a strange curiosity. She is no ordinary witch, she is the embodiment of the boundary between life and death, a keeper of the unknown, and a guide for those who dare to seek her out. Baba Yaga's home is as enigmatic as she is, a small hut perched upon giant, chicken-like legs, always ready to move, never staying in one place for too long. The hut is surrounded by a fence made of human bones, each skull glowing with an eerie light that cuts through the darkness of the forest. It's said that the house turns its back on the uninvited, spinning on its legs to protect the witch who resides within. Those who are brave, or foolish, enough to approach must chant a specific incantation to make the house turn and face them, revealing the doorway to Baba Yaga's world. Inside the hut, time seems to stand still, and the air is thick with the scent of herbs and the faint, unsettling aroma of something ancient and powerful. Baba Yaga herself is a sight to behold, an old woman, her face lined with the wrinkles of countless years, her eyes glowing with a wisdom that comes from straddling the line between the worlds of the living and the dead. Her hair is as wild as the forest itself, and her long, bony fingers are never still, always stirring potions, weaving spells, or tending to the cauldron that bubbles with secrets from beyond the grave. Baba Yaga's powers are immense, and they extend far beyond the magic of simple spells. She is a guardian of the threshold between life and death, a role that gives her dominion over the passage to the afterlife. It is said that she can grant life as easily as she can take it away, her decisions as unpredictable as the wind that rustles through the trees. Those who seek her out must do so with the utmost caution, for Baba Yaga is not known for her mercy. She tests those who come to her, challenging them in ways that reveal the true nature of their souls. Yet, Baba Yaga is not entirely malevolent. She is a force of nature, neither good nor evil, but a necessary part of the cycle of life and death. In some tales, she appears as a helper, providing guidance to those who pass her tests and proving to be a powerful ally to those who earn her respect. She is a protector of balance, ensuring that the line between the living and the dead is maintained, and that those who cross it do so with purpose. The tales of Baba Yaga are as varied as the cultures that tell them, but they all share a common thread, a sense of awe and fear, and a recognition of the power that lies in the unknown. She is a reminder that life and death are two sides of the same coin, and that both must be respected. To encounter Baba Yaga is to come face to face with the mysteries of existence, to confront the inevitability of death, and to seek wisdom in the darkest corners of the world. Baba Yaga's legend endures because she embodies the complexities of life itself. She is a nurturer and a destroyer, a guide and a tormentor, a figure of fear and reverence. In her, we see the reflection of our own fears and desires, the eternal struggle between life and death, and the search for meaning in a world that is often as confusing as it is beautiful. Baba Yaga, with her ancient wisdom and her terrifying power, reminds us that the path to understanding is not an easy one, but it is a journey that we all must take. When the cold winds howl across the Scottish Highlands and the earth becomes blanketed in snow, it is said that the Cailleach awakens. She is the crone of winter, an ancient being whose power is as harsh and unyielding as the season she commands. Her presence is felt in every bitter gust, every frost-covered blade of grass, and every frozen lock. The Cailleach is more than just a myth. She is the embodiment of winter itself, a force of nature that brings death and dormancy to the land. The Cailleach is often depicted as a fearsome old woman, with skin as blue as ice and hair like frost-covered brambles. Her eyes are said to be as cold as the winter moon, and her breath freezes the air around her. She is clothed in a dark cloak made of storm clouds, and she carries a staff that can summon blizzards with a single strike. To see her is to feel the chill of death, a reminder that winter is both a time of endings and a necessary pause in the cycle of life. In the myths, the Cailleach is both a creator and a destroyer. She is said to have shaped the mountains and valleys of Scotland with her great strength, using her staff to carve the landscape as she saw fit. Her hands, though gnarled and aged, are powerful, capable of moving boulders and turning rivers to stone. But with her power also comes a deep connection to death. The Cailleach rules over the dark months of the year, when the earth is still and lifeless, and she presides over the spirits of the dead, guiding them to the underworld where they will rest until the earth awakens once more. Yet the Cailleach is not entirely a figure of fear. In some tales, she is seen as a protector, a guardian of the land who ensures that the balance between life and death is maintained. She watches over the animals that hibernate through the winter, ensuring their survival until spring. She is also a symbol of endurance, representing the strength needed to survive the long, harsh winter. To those who respect her, the Cailleach can be a powerful ally, offering protection against the cold and guidance through the dark times. But woe to those who anger the Cailleach. Her wrath is as cold and unforgiving as the winter itself. In the old stories, those who disrespect the land or fail to prepare for the winter may find themselves at her mercy. Crops may fail, animals may perish, and the cold may seep into homes that are unprepared. The Cailleach demands respect, for she is the keeper of the seasons, the one who decides when winter begins and when it will end. One of the most haunting tales of the Cailleach is her connection to the stone circles that dot the Scottish landscape. It is said that these ancient stones were once maidens, transformed by the Cailleach as punishment for dancing on the Sabbath. With a wave of her hand, she turned them to stone, leaving them to stand as a reminder of her power. These stone circles, shrouded in mystery and often covered in frost, are silent witnesses to the Cailleach's dominion over the land. As winter gives way to spring, the Cailleach's power begins to wane. In some stories, she is transformed into a stone herself, waiting in silence until the cold returns. In others, she is defeated by the forces of spring, forced to retreat until the cycle begins anew. But even as the flowers bloom and the sun warms the earth, there is always a sense that the Cailleach is never truly gone. She lingers in the shadows, a reminder that winter will come again, as it always does. The Cailleach is a complex figure, one who embodies the duality of life and death, creation and destruction. She is a reminder that winter, though cold and unforgiving, is also a time of renewal, a necessary part of the cycle that allows life to flourish. The Cailleach's story is one of power and endurance, of respect for the forces of nature that are beyond human control. She is the winter's heart, cold and strong, a force that cannot be tamed but must be honored and understood. The river Styx flows silently through the depths of the underworld, its dark waters carrying the weight of countless souls. This is no ordinary river, it is a boundary between the living and the dead, a sacred passage that must be crossed to enter the realm of the afterlife. But the river Styx is not merely a crossing point, it is a place of power, a place where the lines between life and death blur, and where witches play a crucial role. Witches, with their knowledge of the arcane and the supernatural, are often depicted as the ones who guide souls across the river Styx. They are the guardians of this sacred boundary, beings who understand the mysteries of death and the afterlife better than any mortal. The image of a witch standing at the edge of the river, her cloak billowing in the ethereal wind, is one that sends shivers down the spine. Her presence is both comforting and terrifying, for she holds the power to lead a soul to its final resting place, or to trap it forever in the limbo of the Styx. The witches of the Styx are not like the witches of fairy tales, casting spells and brewing potions. They are somber, wise, and deeply connected to the forces of nature and death. Their voices are soft, almost a whisper, as they chant ancient incantations that call upon the spirits of the river to guide the souls safely across. The water, cold and black, reflects the faces of the dead as they are ferried to the other side, each soul carrying its own story, its own weight of life left behind. In some myths, the witches of the Styx are seen as protectors, ensuring that no soul is lost or forgotten. They are there to comfort the dead, to soothe their fears as they embark on their final journey. These witches understand the sorrow and fear that come with death, and they offer their guidance not out of duty, but out of a deep compassion for those who have passed on. Their eyes, ancient and knowing, hold the secrets of the afterlife, secrets that they guard with unwavering loyalty. Yet, there is another side to these witches. They are not only guides, but also guardians of the river, protectors of the boundary that separates the worlds. They have the power to decide who crosses the Styx and who does not. Some souls, cursed or unworthy, may find themselves denied passage, left to wander the shores of the river for eternity. The witches of the Styx are not cruel, but they are just, and their decisions are final. The river Styx itself is a place of power, and the witches who guard it draw their strength from its dark waters. The river is said to be fed by the tears of the dead, and its waters are as cold as the void of space. To touch the Styx is to feel the chill of death itself, a cold that seeps into the bones and chills the soul. The witches, however, are immune to its effects. They walk along its banks as if it were a garden path, their connection to the river giving them the power to move between the worlds of the living and the dead with ease. The ferrymen of the Styx, like Sharon, often rely on the witches to help them guide the souls. While Sharon demands payment, a coin placed on the tongue of the dead, the witches require no such tribute. Their reward is the knowledge that they have fulfilled their duty, that they have helped another soul find peace. But there are whispers, dark tales of witches who have taken payment in other forms, favors, or promises that bind the dead to them even in the afterlife. These are the witches who walk a darker path, using the power of the Styx to control the spirits, to bend them to their will. The stories of the river Styx and its witches are as old as time itself, passed down through generations, each telling more chilling than the last. The river is a place of mystery, of fear, and of awe. It is where the living cannot go, but where the dead must pass. And standing at the edge of this dark, swirling water are the witches, ever watchful, ever ready to guide or to guard, depending on the soul that approaches. In the end, the witches of the Styx are not just characters in a myth, they are symbols of the eternal cycle of life and death. They remind us that death is not an end but a passage, a crossing from one world to the next. And while the river Styx may be a place of darkness and sorrow, it is also a place of transition, where souls are not lost, but guided to where they belong. The witches, with their ancient wisdom and their deep connection to the supernatural, are the ones who ensure that this passage is respected, that the boundary is upheld, and that the souls of the dead find their way home. In the shadowy depths of the Egyptian Duat, where the sun never shines and the air is thick with ancient secrets, the world of the dead is a place of both danger and wonder. This hidden land, a vast and mysterious afterlife, is guided by the magic of powerful sorcerers and witches whose very existence shapes the fate of souls. These figures wield sorcery with a precision that turns the terrifying journey through the Duat into a passage towards eternity. The Duat is not a place for the faint-hearted. It is a labyrinthine underworld filled with perilous obstacles and fearsome creatures. To navigate this realm, the dead need more than just a guide. They need the potent magic of the witches who dwell in its shadowy corners. These witches are not mere mortals who dabbled in magic. They are beings of profound power, whose knowledge of the Duat's mysteries helps souls find their way through the darkness. One of the most haunting figures in the Egyptian afterlife is the witch who holds the power to interpret the sacred spells written in the Book of the Dead. These spells are more than just words, they are lifelines that guide the deceased through the dangers of the do-it. Without these spells, the journey would be a harrowing one, filled with monsters and traps meant to keep souls from their eternal rest. The witches, with their deep understanding of these ancient texts, offer protection and guidance, ensuring that each soul can pass through the do-it and reach the fields of bliss. These magical figures are often depicted with mysterious and awe-inspiring attributes. They might have the head of a jackal or the body of a lioness, reflecting their deep connection to the gods of the afterlife. Their eyes, however, are said to hold an ancient wisdom, a knowledge of the do-it that surpasses even that of the gods. They are the keepers of secrets, the guardians of the passages that lead souls from one stage of the journey to the next. In the do-it, the role of these witches is crucial. The soul must pass through several gates guarded by fearsome beings, and without the help of the witches, many would be lost. The do-it is a place where even the bravest can falter, where shadows can turn into monsters, and where even the smallest mistake can lead to eternal wandering. The witches stand as both guides and protectors, their spells and charms warding off evil and ensuring that the soul stays on the right path. These witches have their own rituals, performed in the darkest hours of the night when the do-it is at its most treacherous. Their rituals involve the chanting of powerful incantations and the drawing of protective symbols in the sand. They call upon the gods and goddesses of the afterlife, asking for their favor and protection for the souls they guide. It is said that their voices, when raised in prayer or spell, can calm the fiercest of beasts and dispel the darkest of shadows. One of the most poignant tales is that of the witch who guided the soul of a young child through the do-it. The child, frightened and lost, found solace in the witch's calming presence. With every step, the witch whispered words of comfort, her magic forming a shield around the child to protect him from the dangers that lurked in the darkness. Her role was not just to guide, but to offer reassurance, turning a journey that could have been filled with terror into one of hope and peace. The witches of the do-it are also responsible for maintaining the balance between life and death. They ensure that the dead receive their due rewards and that the living are protected from the influence of the dead. Their magic helps to keep the natural order in harmony, preventing the chaos that could arise if the dead were to wander freely or if the boundaries between life and death were to blur. In the myths, these witches are often portrayed with a deep connection to the gods of the afterlife. They might be seen as intermediaries between the gods and the souls of the dead, their magic serving as a bridge that allows communication and interaction. Their role is both sacred and perilous, requiring a blend of courage, wisdom, and deep understanding of the spiritual realm. As the journey through the do-it comes to an end, and the soul emerges into the light of the afterlife, it is the work of these witches that has made the journey possible. Their spells, their guidance, and their unwavering commitment to the dead ensure that each soul can find its way to its final resting place. The do-it, with all its dangers and mysteries, becomes a place of transition rather than one of terror, all thanks to the powerful sorcery of these remarkable witches. In the heart of the Egyptian afterlife, where shadows dance and the air is thick with the whispers of the dead, the witches of the do-it stand as beacons of hope and protectors of the soul's journey. Their magic is a lifeline, their wisdom a guide, and their presence a reminder of the profound connection between the living and the dead. In the shadowy corners of the Greek underworld, where the air is thick with the sighs of the departed and the shadows linger like old ghosts, witches wield a power that shapes the fate of every soul. Hades, the god who rules this somber domain, relies on these enigmatic figures to maintain the balance between life and death. The stories of these witches, woven through the fabric of ancient myth, are filled with mystery and dark magic, and their influence over the souls of the dead is both profound and chilling. The Underworld is a place where every soul has a story, a destiny that unfolds as they cross into this final resting place. Hades, the ruler of this realm, is a figure of solemn authority, his eyes like twin embers of judgment. But even the mighty Hades requires the aid of witches, whose powers are essential to the functioning of his domain. These witches are not mere servants, but key players in the grand design of the afterlife, their magic intertwined with the fate of every soul that enters the underworld. These witches are often depicted as veiled figures, their faces hidden in the folds of their dark, flowing robes. Their eyes, however, are said to shine with an otherworldly light, revealing the depth of their knowledge and the weight of their responsibility. They perform rituals that influence the destinies of the dead, using spells and incantations that are as old as the underworld itself. Their magic is not just a tool but a bridge between the living and the dead, a means of ensuring that the souls are judged fairly and their final destinations are met with the justice they deserve. One of the most haunting tales is that of a witch who served as a guide to the souls as they crossed the rivers of the underworld. Her role was to lead the departed through the darkness, offering comfort and direction in a place where shadows and echoes rule. Her touch was both gentle and firm, guiding the souls with a whispered incantation that could calm the most troubled of spirits. The souls, weary from their journey through life and death, found solace in her presence, their fears eased by her quiet, reassuring voice. Another legend speaks of a witch who held the power to weigh the souls against the feather of Ma'at, the ancient symbol of truth and justice. This witch's duty was to ensure that each soul's deeds were measured accurately, and her judgment was final. The weight of the feather determined the soul's fate, and the witch's spell could tip the balance towards salvation or damnation. The tales say that her gaze alone could pierce through the veil of pretense, seeing into the very heart of each soul and ensuring that justice was served with impartiality. The witches of Hades are also known for their role in maintaining the delicate balance of the underworld. They ensure that the souls remain in their rightful place, preventing any from escaping or being lost in the shadows. The underworld is a complex and shifting landscape, and the witches are the ones who keep it ordered and secure. They use their magic to seal the gates, to ward off those who would disturb the peace of the dead, and to manage the many spirits that wander through the darkness. There is a poignant story of a witch who took pity on the souls of children who had died too young. Her magic was a source of comfort for these lost souls, offering them a gentle path to their final resting place. She would wrap them in a cloak of warmth and light, her spells soothing their sorrow and guiding them towards a peaceful rest. Her compassion was a beacon in the cold, dark underworld, and her touch was a tender reminder that even in death, kindness and love could still be found. Yet, the witches of Hades are not without their darker aspects. Their power over the dead also means they hold sway over those who are condemned to the deepest, darkest parts of the underworld. Their magic can bind souls to eternal punishment, their spells locking the damned in places of torment. These witches, with their knowledge of the most fearsome spells, are the enforcers of Hades' will, ensuring that the punishment fits the sins of the soul. In the myths, these witches are often portrayed with a sense of mystery and awe. Their powers are respected and feared, their role in the underworld both crucial and ominous. They walk a fine line between mercy and justice, their actions shaped by the ancient laws that govern the afterlife. Their presence is a constant reminder of the delicate balance that exists between life and death, between peace and punishment. The stories of the witches who serve Hades are filled with the echoes of the past, their actions shaping the very fabric of the underworld. They are the silent weavers of fate, their magic a thread that connects the world of the living with the realm of the dead. In the dark, whispering corridors of the underworld, where the souls of the departed find their rest, the witches stand as both guardians and guides, their influence a powerful force in the eternal dance between life and death. In the ancient world of Mesopotamia, where the rivers met and civilizations thrived, the underworld was a place of dark mystery and formidable power. Here, amid the shadows and echoes of the dead, witches played a crucial role, their influence weaving through the very fabric of life and death. Their magic was not only a tool but a bridge between the mortal world and the realm of the gods, shaping the fate of souls as they journeyed through the afterlife. Mesopotamian witches, or enchantresses, were not just feared figures, they were revered as powerful intermediaries who could command the forces of the underworld. Their roles were complex, as they interacted with the deities of this dark realm, their magic holding sway over the souls that passed through. In the myths and stories of ancient Mesopotamia, these witches were seen as both guardians and guides, their presence a vital part of the afterlife. One of the most intriguing tales is that of the enchantress who served the goddess Ereshkigal, the queen of the underworld. Ereshkigal ruled over this dark domain with an iron will, her presence commanding respect and fear. The enchantress who worked for her was known for her ability to control the spirits of the dead, ensuring that they followed the decrees of Ereshkigal. Her magic was a blend of awe-inspiring power and meticulous control, her spells ensuring that the souls in the underworld adhered to the strict rules set by their queen. In the myths, this enchantress was often depicted as a figure of both grace and authority. Her role was to manage the souls of the dead, guiding them through the various stages of their afterlife journey. She was known to use her magic to calm restless spirits, to guide lost souls to their final resting place, and to keep the balance between the forces of life and death. Her presence in the underworld was a beacon of order, her spells and rituals a crucial part of maintaining the stability of this shadowy realm. Another powerful figure in Mesopotamian mythology was the enchantress associated with the goddess Inanna, who ventured into the underworld in a quest that became legendary. Inanna's descent into the underworld was a journey fraught with danger and darkness, and the enchantress who helped her was a key player in this epic tale. This witch's magic was used to assist Inanna in navigating the treacherous landscape of the underworld, her spells providing protection and guidance as the goddess faced trials and challenges in her descent. The enchantress who aided Inanna was known for her profound wisdom and her deep connection to the forces of the underworld. She was a figure who could see beyond the physical realm, her magic allowing her to communicate with the gods and spirits that dwelled in the darkness. Her role was not just to assist, but to ensure that the balance of power in the underworld was maintained, her actions a crucial part of the cosmic order. In Mesopotamian lore, witches were also believed to possess the power to influence the destinies of the living. Their magic was seen as a force that could alter the course of fate, their spells capable of bringing about significant changes in the lives of those who sought their help. This connection between the living and the dead made the enchantresses of the underworld figures of immense power and respect. One poignant story speaks of an enchantress who used her magic to bring comfort to the grieving. Her role was to offer solace to those mourning their dead, her spells providing a sense of peace and closure. She was known to create charms and amulets that helped the living connect with their lost loved ones, her magic serving as a bridge between the two worlds. This enchantress's compassion was a light in the darkness, her presence a reminder that even in the face of death, there was hope and comfort to be found. The enchantresses of the Mesopotamian underworld were also skilled in the arts of necromancy, their magic allowing them to communicate with the dead. This ability to call upon spirits and seek their wisdom was a powerful tool in their repertoire, their spells enabling them to gather information and influence the course of events in the mortal world. Their necromantic abilities were both revered and feared, their interactions with the spirits of the dead a testament to their formidable power. These witches were also known to perform rituals that could influence the flow of time and the cycles of nature. Their magic was believed to be capable of bending the fabric of reality, their spells affecting the natural order and the course of human events. This ability to shape the world with their magic made them figures of great importance, their actions having far-reaching consequences for both the living and the dead. In the ancient city of Uruk, tales of the enchantresses who served the goddess Ereshkigal and other deities of the underworld were passed down through generations. These stories spoke of their immense power, their intricate rituals, and their crucial role in maintaining the balance between life and death. The enchantresses were seen as vital figures in the cosmic order, their magic a force that shaped the destiny of souls and the course of human events. The presence of these witches in the Mesopotamian underworld is a testament to the profound and complex relationship between magic and the afterlife in ancient mythology. Their roles were not just about guiding souls or enforcing the will of the gods, but about maintaining the delicate balance between the worlds of the living and the dead. Their magic was a vital part of this balance, their actions shaping the course of fate and ensuring that the order of the underworld remained intact. In the shadowy recesses of the underworld, where the air hangs heavy with secrets and the echoes of the dead, powerful witch queens reign with unmatched authority. Their rule over the darkest parts of this mysterious realm is not merely about command, it's a blend of ancient magic, fierce determination, and an unyielding bond with the afterlife. These witch queens, each a figure of awe and fear, wield their powers to shape the fate of souls and maintain the balance between life and death. One such witch queen is Ereshkigal, the Mesopotamian goddess who rules over the underworld. Her domain is a vast, shadowy expanse where the spirits of the dead find their rest. Ereshkigal's power is formidable, her presence commanding both respect and dread. She governs the souls with a stern yet just hand, ensuring that each soul receives the judgment it deserves. Her magic is intricately tied to the cycles of life and death, and her influence extends to every corner of her dark realm. Ereshkigal's legacy is one of balance and authority, her rule a testament to her formidable power and her deep connection to the afterlife. In Greek mythology, Persephone stands as a queen of the underworld, though her reign is intertwined with the cycles of nature and the changing seasons. Kidnapped by Hades and brought to his shadowy domain, Persephone's role as the queen of the underworld is complex. She is both a figure of sorrow and renewal, her presence in the underworld bringing a sense of order and balance. Persephone's power is not just about ruling the dead but also about influencing the natural world. Her departure from the underworld marks the onset of spring, while her return signifies the coming of winter. Her legacy is one of transformation and eternal connection, her influence felt both in the world of the living and the realm of the dead. In Slavic folklore, the witch queen Baba Yaga holds a place of dark reverence. Though not a ruler of the underworld in the strictest sense, her powers and influence over the dead are significant. Baba Yaga is often depicted as an enigmatic and fearsome figure, her magic both a source of terror and awe. She is a guardian of the threshold between life and death, her hut standing on chicken legs as a symbol of her otherworldly nature. Baba Yaga's power extends over the spirits of the dead, her magic able to summon and control them as she sees fit. Her legacy is one of mystery and strength, her presence a reminder of the delicate balance between life and death. The Witch Queen Hel from Norse mythology rules over a realm also named Hel, a place where the souls of those who did not die in battle reside. Hel's appearance is both haunting and commanding, her half-living, half-dead form a reflection of her role in the afterlife. Her domain is a cold and shadowy place, where the souls of the dead find their final rest. Hel's power is immense, her rule over this dark realm absolute. She governs the souls with a firm hand, ensuring that the balance of the underworld is maintained. Her legacy is one of authority and inevitability, her presence a reminder of the unyielding nature of death. In ancient Egyptian mythology, the witch queen Ma'at plays a crucial role in the afterlife. Though not a queen in the traditional sense, her influence over the souls of the dead is profound. Ma'at's role is to ensure that the souls are judged fairly, her scales used to weigh their deeds and determine their fate. Her power lies in her ability to bring order to the chaos of the afterlife, her presence ensuring that justice is served. Ma'at's legacy is one of balance and fairness, her role in the underworld a testament to her enduring influence over the souls of the departed. These witch queens, with their varied powers and roles, each leave a profound mark on the underworld. Their rule is not just about control but about maintaining the delicate balance between life and death. Their legacies are intertwined with the stories of the afterlife, their influence shaping the fates of the souls that pass through their domains. Each witch queen, in her own way, embodies the complex relationship between magic and the afterlife, her power a vital part of the cosmic order. The night is dark, the air thick with mystery as witches gather around flickering candles and ancient symbols. They are about to perform rituals that bridge the gap between the living and the dead, their hands moving in intricate patterns, their voices weaving spells that shape the very paths of the afterlife. In the silence, there is a palpable sense of anticipation and reverence. These rituals are more than mere ceremonies, they are the keys to navigating the shadowy roads that spirits travel, each spell a beacon guiding souls to their ultimate destination. In ancient Egypt, the journey of the dead through the afterlife was a path fraught with challenges and obstacles. Witches, known as the sistrum bearers, played a vital role in guiding these souls. Their rituals involved reciting powerful incantations and performing rites to ensure the safe passage of the deceased. One such ritual involved the opening of the mouth ceremony. This spell was believed to grant the deceased the ability to speak and breathe in the afterlife, crucial for navigating the underworld's trials. The sistrum bearers would use sacred objects and perform intricate dances, their movements symbolic of the soul's journey from this world to the next. The spells they cast were infused with the hope that the deceased would find peace and safety in the unknown realms beyond death. In ancient Greece, the Orphic rites were used to influence the journey of the dead. These rites, shrouded in secrecy, were performed by priestesses who chanted and danced in sacred groves. Their rituals aimed to ensure that the soul would find a favorable path through the afterlife. They used herbs and enchanted water, believed to have purifying properties, to cleanse the spirit of earthly sins. The Orphic hymns, filled with prayers and invocations to deities of the underworld, were recited to guide the soul and protect it from malevolent forces. These rituals were a testament to the Greeks' deep belief in the power of sorcery to influence the journey of the dead and secure a place in the afterlife. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, witches employed rituals to manipulate the paths of the dead, their practices reflecting a profound understanding of the spirit world. One of the most significant rituals involved the use of protective amulets and incantations to shield the soul from evil spirits. These amulets were inscribed with sacred symbols and placed on the body of the deceased, ensuring safe passage through the afterlife. Mesopotamian witches would also perform rituals at the gravesite, calling upon the gods to guide and protect the soul as it traversed the dark realms of the underworld. Their spells were believed to influence the fate of the deceased, ensuring they were greeted favorably by the gods of the underworld and granted a peaceful rest. In the Norse tradition, the paths of the dead were complex and filled with peril. Norse witches, or vulvas, were highly respected for their ability to guide and protect souls. Their rituals involved invoking the spirits of ancestors and gods to aid in the soul's journey. One such ritual was the seer magic, where the vulva would enter a trance and communicate with the spirits of the deceased. This ritual was performed to seek guidance on how to navigate the treacherous paths of the afterlife. The vulvas would use runes and sacred chants, their magic aimed at ensuring the deceased could find their way to the Hall of the Gods or the peaceful realms of the dead, depending on their deeds in life. In Slavic folklore, witches known as Baba Yagas played a crucial role in the rituals surrounding death. They were believed to have the power to manipulate the paths of the dead, guiding spirits through forests and other dangerous places. The rituals performed by these witches often involved offerings and sacrifices to appease the spirits of the dead and ensure their safe passage. Baba Yagas would use magical herbs and perform rites to ward off malevolent entities that might interfere with the soul's journey. Their deep connection with the natural and supernatural worlds made them powerful guides for those navigating the afterlife. Across these diverse cultures, the rituals and spells used to navigate the paths of the dead reveal a common thread, a deep respect for the journey of the soul and the power of magic to influence it. The witches who performed these rites were seen as crucial intermediaries between the living and the dead, their actions a blend of hope, reverence, and unshakable belief in the power of their craft. Their magic was not just about navigating the dark paths of the afterlife, but about ensuring that every soul found its rightful place in the great expanse beyond life. In the quiet corners of history, where shadows stretch long and the air grows colder, the practice of necromancy reveals itself with an unsettling intensity. This dark art, the ability to summon and communicate with the dead, has long been the realm of witches, their powers both feared and revered. Picture a witch standing in a dimly lit room, ancient tomes spread before her, candles flickering with an eerie light. She whispers incantations, her voice a soft, trembling thread connecting her to the world beyond the grave. The atmosphere thickens with anticipation, as if the very air holds its breath, waiting for a response from the unseen. Necromancy is not just about speaking to the dead, it's about reaching across the veil that separates life from death. The witch's connection with the deceased is not casual or light, it is a deep, profound interaction that often carries a sense of foreboding. Imagine the chilling moment when a ghostly presence begins to manifest, a spectral figure emerging from the darkness, its form shifting and wavering as it tries to communicate with the living. The witch, with her practiced skills and unwavering focus, guides this ethereal being, negotiating with spirits who have unfinished business or messages from the beyond. Historically, necromancy was viewed with a blend of awe and fear. In ancient times, witches who practiced this dark art were often seen as mediators between the worlds. They were believed to have the power to control spirits, calling upon them to reveal hidden truths or to aid in uncovering secrets. Their ability to bridge the gap between life and death made them both powerful and dangerous. They were the ones who could converse with the spirits of the departed, extracting information that others could not reach. In ancient Greece, necromancy was often linked to the worship of the gods of the underworld. Witches would perform elaborate rituals in dark, sacred places, invoking the spirits of the dead to gain insight or divine guidance. These rituals were not just performed for show, they were deeply serious affairs, often involving sacrifices and complex ceremonies. The witch's role was to channel the power of the dead, using their insights to help the living or to alter the course of events. In medieval Europe, the fear and fascination with necromancy grew. Witches accused of practicing necromancy were often portrayed as malevolent figures, their powers seen as a direct threat to the natural order. They were believed to summon spirits not just for guidance, but for darker purposes, casting curses, seeking revenge, or harnessing the dead for their own gain. The dramatic, often grotesque portrayals of these witches added to the mystique and terror surrounding necromancy. Their power to manipulate the dead was depicted as both thrilling and horrifying, a reflection of the profound fears and beliefs of the time. In the rituals of necromancy, the boundary between life and death becomes perilously thin. Witches who engage in this practice must tread carefully, for the spirits they summon are not always benevolent. The process of communicating with the dead involves intricate rituals, often performed at night or in secluded places, away from the prying eyes of the living. These rituals are filled with symbols and words of power, designed to summon spirits and keep them under control. The witch's ability to command these forces and maintain her own safety is a testament to her mastery of this dark art. As the witch performs her rites, the room is often filled with the scent of incense and the soft murmur of ancient words. The atmosphere is thick with a sense of the otherworldly, as if the very fabric of reality is being stretched to allow a glimpse into the realm of the dead. The spirits that emerge are often restless, their forms flickering like dying flames. They speak in voices that are both familiar and strange, their messages carrying the weight of ages past. The witch listens intently, her focus unwavering, as she seeks to unravel the mysteries or fulfill the requests of the spirits. The practice of necromancy is not just a matter of technical skill, it requires a deep understanding of the nature of the spirits and the ability to navigate the treacherous waters of the afterlife. Witches who master this art are seen as possessing not only great power but also great responsibility. Their role as intermediaries between the living and the dead is fraught with danger and ethical considerations. They must balance the needs and desires of the living with the demands and desires of the spirits, all while maintaining their own safety and sanity. The witch's relationship with necromancy is a complex one, filled with both wonder and dread. The ability to communicate with the dead is a profound power, one that offers a glimpse into the unknown and the opportunity to change the course of fate. Yet, it is also a dangerous practice, one that requires a careful balance of respect, control, and understanding. The power to summon and speak with spirits is both a gift and a burden, a reminder of the thin line that separates the world of the living from the shadowy realm of the dead. In the shadowy corners of ancient myths, witches stood as the solemn judges of the souls passing into the afterlife. Their role was not merely to guide, but to weigh the hearts and deeds of the deceased, a task filled with grave responsibility and chilling consequence. Picture a witch, draped in flowing robes, her eyes glinting with a supernatural light. She stands before a grand, shadowy gate, flanked by the ethereal silhouettes of lost souls. Each spirit, trembling and uncertain, must face her scrutiny, their fate hanging in the balance. In ancient Egypt, the heart of the deceased was weighed against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth and justice. This was no simple task. Witches, known as the sistrum bearers, performed the critical rituals that influenced this divine judgment. Their incantations and spells, uttered in hushed tones, could sway the scales in favor of the dead or condemn them to the void. They would stand beside the scales, their presence a silent but powerful influence, as they invoked the gods to ensure the deceased faced their reckoning fairly. The air was thick with tension as the outcome of each soul's journey was decided by these mysterious intermediaries. In the Greek underworld, the role of witches in judgment was equally formidable. The Fates, three sisters who spun, measured, and cut the threads of life, were often accompanied by witches who helped administer the divine justice meted out in the afterlife. These witches were skilled in interpreting the threads of destiny, their powers extending into the realm of judgment. When souls arrived at the gates of Hades, it was these witches who whispered the final verdicts, their voices carrying the weight of ancient decrees. The deceased would stand before the goddess Persephone or the god Hades, their hearts laid bare by the witch's judgment. In Norse mythology, the Volvas, seeresses who practiced seer magic, played a crucial role in determining the fate of souls. These witches were believed to have the power to see beyond the veil of death and interpret the will of the gods. Their role was not just to guide the deceased, but to ensure that the souls received their due rewards or punishments based on their earthly deeds. The Volvas would invoke the spirits of the dead and consult the Norns, the weavers of fate, to determine whether a soul was to enter Valhalla or face the cold, dark realms of hell. Their judgments were feared and respected, for they carried the weight of destiny itself. In Celtic folklore, the Morrigan, a goddess associated with war and fate, was often depicted as having a hand in the judgment of souls. The Morrigan's presence was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. She was said to appear in the form of a crow or a raven, her gaze piercing through the veil between life and death. Souls passing through the afterlife would encounter her spectral form, their actions and intentions laid bare before her. Her judgment was final and absolute, determining whether a soul would find peace or be condemned to wander the dark places of the earth. The Morrigan's role in judgment was a reflection of her power and her deep connection to the forces of fate. In Slavic mythology, Baba Yaga, the enigmatic witch, played a role in judging the souls who ventured into her domain. Known for her fierce and unpredictable nature, Baba Yaga's judgments were as fearsome as they were final. She would confront the souls that dared enter her forest, her eyes blazing with ancient knowledge. Her judgments were often harsh, reflecting her role as a guardian of the boundary between the living and the dead. The souls that faced her were judged not only for their earthly deeds, but for their readiness to confront the unknown and their ability to accept their fate. Baba Yaga's role in the afterlife was a testament to her formidable power and her crucial place in the cycle of life and death. Throughout these diverse mythologies, the role of witches in judging souls reveals a complex interplay of fear, respect, and reverence. These witches were not just guides, they were arbiters of fate, their judgments carrying profound implications for the souls they encountered. Their powers to weigh hearts, interpret destinies, and administer divine justice made them central figures in the ancient understanding of the afterlife. As intermediaries between the living and the dead, their presence was both a source of solace and a reminder of the eternal consequences of one's actions. In the dead of night, when the world falls silent and the moon casts eerie shadows, the witching hour begins. This mysterious time, often known as the hour between midnight and 1 a.m., has long been associated with dark magic and the supernatural. Picture a lonely village, wrapped in darkness, its only light coming from flickering candle flames. The air is thick with a sense of foreboding, as if something otherworldly is stirring just beyond the edge of perception. This is the witching hour, a time when the veil between the living and the dead is said to be at its thinnest, allowing spirits and supernatural forces to seep through. In folklore, the witching hour is more than just a period of time, it is a moment when the boundaries between the known and the unknown become alarmingly fragile. During this hour, it is believed that witches and dark entities are at their most powerful. The silence of the night seems to pulse with a hidden energy, making it an ideal time for magic and rituals. Imagine a witch in her dimly lit chamber, her face illuminated by the soft glow of candles as she chants incantations. Her voice, barely above a whisper, carries through the darkness, weaving spells and summoning forces that are usually kept at bay. The witching hour becomes her sanctuary, a time when her powers are amplified and her connection to the otherworldly is strongest. The connection between the witching hour and the underworld is particularly significant. It is said that during this time, the spirits of the dead are more likely to make contact with the living. The witching hour is a time when the spirits, restless and longing to communicate, are believed to cross the boundary between the afterlife and the world of the living. Picture a quiet, moonlit graveyard, the air thick with mist. As the clock strikes midnight, shadows begin to shift, and ghostly forms emerge from their resting places. The veil between the worlds seems to part, allowing the deceased to reach out to those they left behind. This hour is a bridge between the living and the dead, where conversations with spirits and divination become possible. In many cultures, this hour is considered the most potent time for witchcraft and necromancy. It is when witches perform their most powerful spells, drawing on the heightened energy that saturates the night. The witching hour is not just a time but a sacred moment when the energies of the earth, the cosmos, and the supernatural align. The air crackles with an intensity that makes the impossible seem possible. Imagine a group of witches gathered in a circle, their faces illuminated by the light of a single, flickering candle. They chant in unison, their voices rising and falling in rhythm with the pulse of the night. As the witching hour progresses, their power grows, and their spells take on an eerie, palpable presence. The connection between the witching hour and the underworld is also linked to ancient beliefs about the cycles of time. In many traditions, midnight is seen as a liminal space, a threshold between one day and the next, between light and darkness, life and death. The witching hour, therefore, represents a time of transition and transformation. It is when the old gives way to the new, and the boundaries of existence become fluid. Picture a person standing at the edge of a dark forest, the moonlight casting long shadows. As the clock strikes midnight, they step into the unknown, crossing from the familiar world into a place where the rules are different and anything is possible. This moment of transition is both thrilling and unsettling, filled with potential and danger. The witching hour has also been a time of heightened sensitivity and vulnerability. During this hour, it is believed that people are more open to psychic phenomena and supernatural experiences. The stillness of the night and the thin veil between worlds make it easier for the unexplained to break through. Imagine someone lying in bed, the room quiet and dark, when suddenly they feel a cold breeze and hear faint whispers. The witching hour amplifies these sensations, making the ordinary feel extraordinary and the supernatural feel real. In folklore, the witching hour is a time when the balance of power shifts. Witches, spirits, and other supernatural entities are believed to hold sway, and their influence is felt more acutely. The air itself seems to hum with an unseen force, and every creak or rustle takes on a new, unsettling significance. This hour is a reminder of the thin line that separates the world of the living from the unknown, and it serves as a powerful symbol of the mysteries that lie just beyond our understanding. As the witching hour fades and the first light of dawn begins to break, the world returns to its usual rhythm. The supernatural forces that seemed so tangible in the darkness retreat, leaving behind only the lingering sense of their presence. The witching hour, with its blend of mystery, power, and fear, remains a potent reminder of the enigmatic and often unsettling nature of the unknown. In the heart of the night, where shadows whisper and the air is thick with mystery, witches have long been woven into tales of the underworld. Their figures, draped in dark robes and cloaked in secrecy, have captured the imagination of countless generations. But how have these spectral beings evolved in modern folklore, literature, and popular culture? Today's witches, though still bound by their ancient roots, are more varied and complex than ever. Picture a bustling city at twilight, where neon lights flicker against the encroaching darkness. Amid the chaos, a new breed of witch emerges, one that blends the eerie charm of old tales with contemporary concerns. In modern literature, witches are no longer just the dark enchantresses of old. They are reimagined as powerful figures who navigate the blurry line between the natural and the supernatural, their stories reflecting our own fears and desires. In recent decades, witches have become symbols of empowerment and rebellion. Gone are the days when they were merely feared and reviled. Now, they often stand as icons of strength, independence, and resilience. Modern folklore presents witches as complex characters who grapple with moral ambiguity and personal struggles. Their connection to the underworld is portrayed with nuance, often highlighting their role as guardians of hidden knowledge or protectors of lost souls. This shift reflects a growing fascination with the unknown and a desire to explore themes of transformation and redemption. Consider the modern witch who inhabits the pages of a popular novel. She is not just a figure of darkness, but a character who challenges societal norms and confronts her own inner demons. Her relationship with the underworld is depicted as a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. The underworld in these stories is not just a place of punishment, but a realm of potential and transformation. This new perspective invites readers to reconsider their own fears and confront the shadows within themselves. In film and television, witches associated with the underworld often become both captivating and sympathetic figures. They are portrayed as individuals who wrestle with their past sins, their connection to the supernatural providing both a burden and a gift. In these stories, the underworld is not merely a place of darkness, but a space where characters find redemption and understanding. Imagine a scene where a witch stands at the edge of a mystical chasm, her gaze steady as she peers into the depths below. The underworld becomes a metaphor for her internal struggles and her quest for reconciliation. Popular culture has also given rise to a new wave of witchcraft that blends traditional elements with contemporary aesthetics. Witches are now depicted as fashion-forward and fiercely independent, their connection to the underworld reimagined through a modern lens. This evolution reflects a broader cultural shift towards embracing the mysterious and the magical in everyday life. The witch's world is no longer confined to ancient texts or shadowy forests, but is integrated into the vibrant tapestry of modern existence. Picture a bustling cafe where a young witch, adorned in stylish attire, uses her powers to navigate the challenges of urban life while still maintaining a connection to the enigmatic forces of the underworld. The portrayal of witches in modern folklore also reflects our evolving understanding of the supernatural. In today's stories, the underworld is often depicted as a place of complex interplay between life and death, rather than a simple realm of punishment. Witches who navigate this realm are shown as wise guides or seekers of truth, their interactions with the underworld revealing deeper truths about the human experience. This modern interpretation invites audiences to consider the underworld not just as a place of fear, but as a realm of possibility and growth. As our cultural narratives continue to evolve, so too does the image of witches associated with the underworld. They are no longer just figures of dread and darkness, but are redefined as symbols of transformation, resilience, and self-discovery. Their stories reflect our own journeys through the shadows and our quest to find light in the darkest corners of existence. This transformation in the portrayal of witches underscores a broader cultural shift towards embracing the mysterious and the magical as integral parts of our lives. In the quiet hours of the night, when the world is wrapped in a shroud of darkness, ancient rituals and modern spells weave a tapestry of connections between the living and the dead. Witchcraft has always been shrouded in mystery, and its practices regarding the afterlife are among the most intriguing and spine-chilling aspects. Rituals and spells intended for communication with the dead or influencing the afterlife have been part of human history for centuries, blending the realms of life and death in ways that both fascinate and terrify. In ancient times, the boundary between the living world and the afterlife was believed to be delicate, easily crossed by those with the right knowledge and rituals. Imagine a dimly lit room where a circle of candles flickers in the darkness. The air is thick with the scent of incense, and the soft murmur of an incantation fills the space. This is not merely a scene of ancient history, but a living tradition that continues to captivate and haunt the imagination. Rituals from centuries past reveal a profound respect for the dead and a deep desire to understand and influence the world beyond. One of the most evocative practices involves summoning spirits to communicate with the dead. In ancient Greece, the necromancer would perform elaborate rituals, often at midnight, to call forth the spirits of the deceased. These ceremonies were performed in secluded places, away from the prying eyes of the living. Picture a shadowy grove, where a circle of mourners gathers around a freshly dug grave, the air crackling with tension as the necromancer chants ancient words. The purpose of these rituals was to seek guidance or foretell the future, using the wisdom of those who had passed on. The connection to the afterlife was both sacred and terrifying, with the living standing on the precipice of the unknown. In medieval Europe, witchcraft took on new forms, incorporating elements of the afterlife into their practices. The witch's role often included guiding lost souls or intervening in matters of life and death. Imagine a small cottage on the edge of a forest, where a witch sits surrounded by grimoires and charms. Her spells are crafted to protect the living from malevolent spirits or to ensure a peaceful transition for the recently deceased. These spells could involve complex rituals, including the use of protective herbs, sacred symbols, and specific timing to ensure that the dead were treated with respect and that their passage was smooth. As time progressed, these practices evolved and adapted, reflecting changes in societal beliefs and cultural attitudes. In contemporary witchcraft, the afterlife remains a profound focus. Modern witches may perform rituals to honor ancestors or to seek guidance from the spirits of the deceased. Picture a contemporary setting, where a witch gathers with a circle of friends in a cozy, dimly lit room. They perform a ritual to connect with loved ones who have passed away, using photographs, personal items, and carefully chosen words. The atmosphere is charged with emotion as they attempt to bridge the gap between the living and the dead, seeking comfort or wisdom from beyond. One of the most poignant aspects of modern witchcraft involving the afterlife is the practice of ancestor veneration. This ritual involves creating altars or shrines dedicated to deceased loved ones, decorated with mementos, photos, and offerings. Imagine a beautifully adorned altar, with candles flickering softly and the scent of incense filling the air. Each item on the altar tells a story of the person's life and their connection to those who remain. This ritual serves not only as a tribute but also as a way to maintain an ongoing relationship with those who have passed away, keeping their memory alive and ensuring that they are honored and remembered. Another significant practice is the use of divination to communicate with the dead. Modern witches often use tools such as tarot cards, pendulums, or scrying mirrors to seek answers or messages from the afterlife. Picture a dimly lit room where a witch spreads out her tarot cards, her fingers brushing over the cards as she attempts to connect with the spirits. The anticipation is palpable, and every card drawn feels like a whisper from the beyond, revealing insights that transcend the ordinary. These practices are deeply personal and serve as a bridge between the living and the dead, allowing for a connection that is both intimate and profound. Rituals involving the afterlife are not just about the past, but also about shaping the future. In some traditions, spells are cast to protect the living from malevolent spirits or to ensure that the deceased find peace. Imagine a witch performing a ritual to banish a restless spirit from a home, using protective charms and sacred words to create a barrier between the living and the dead. The purpose of these spells is to maintain harmony and safeguard those who are still living, reflecting a deep understanding of the delicate balance between the worlds. The emotional weight of these rituals is immense, as they touch on our deepest fears and desires. The desire to connect with those who have passed away, to seek their wisdom or comfort, is a universal experience. The practice of witchcraft involving the afterlife taps into this profound human longing, offering a way to bridge the gap between the known and the unknown. Whether through ancient rites or modern practices, the connection to the afterlife is a powerful and evocative aspect of witchcraft, reflecting our eternal quest to understand and influence the mysteries that lie beyond the veil of death. In the stillness of night, when the world seems to hold its breath, the shadowy figures of ancient witches whisper through the corridors of time. Their presence, haunting and enigmatic, continues to stir our deepest fears and curiosities about death and the unknown. These witches, guardians of the underworld and masters of sorcery, have left a legacy that transcends centuries and cultures, shaping our understanding of the afterlife and the magic that binds life to death. Consider the eerie silence of a moonlit forest, where the very air seems charged with ancient magic. The stories of witches who once guided souls to the underworld or wielded dark powers linger like an echo in our collective memory. They have woven themselves into the fabric of myth and legend, leaving behind a legacy that influences how we view death and the supernatural. Their tales are not just relics of the past, but living traditions that continue to capture our imagination. These witches, often portrayed as powerful and mysterious, have left an indelible mark on our understanding of sorcery and the afterlife. The legends of Hecate, the Morrigan, Hel, and Baba Yaga are not just stories told around a campfire, they are deeply ingrained in our cultural psyche. These figures represent our fascination with the unknown and our desire to understand what lies beyond death. Their legacy is a testament to our enduring quest to connect with the other side and to find meaning in the mysteries of life and death. In the realm of literature and popular culture, the influence of these underworld witches is profound. Modern stories and films continue to draw upon the rich tapestry of ancient myths, reimagining these figures for a contemporary audience. Witches who once ruled over the underworld are now portrayed as complex characters who grapple with moral dilemmas and personal struggles. Their powers and their connection to the afterlife are depicted with depth and nuance, reflecting our evolving understanding of the supernatural. The chilling allure of these characters invites us to confront our fears and to explore the boundaries of human experience. In today's world, the legacy of these underworld witches extends beyond fiction and film. They have become symbols of strength, resilience, and transformation. The modern witch, while still shrouded in mystery, is often seen as a figure of empowerment, someone who harnesses the power of the unknown to navigate life's challenges. This reinterpretation of ancient myths speaks to our ongoing fascination with the supernatural and our desire to find meaning in the darkness. The rituals and practices associated with these witches continue to influence modern spiritual practices. From ancestor veneration to divination, the ways in which we seek to connect with the dead and to understand the afterlife are deeply rooted in ancient traditions. These practices, which once belonged to the realms of folklore and myth, are now part of contemporary spiritual exploration. They offer a way to honor the past, to seek guidance, and to confront our deepest fears about death and the unknown. The legacy of underworld witches is also reflected in the art and symbolism that surrounds them. Their images, often depicted as hauntingly beautiful or eerily sinister, capture the essence of our fascination with the supernatural. The symbols associated with these witches, like Hecate's torches, the Morrigan's ravens, and Baba Yaga's magical hut, continue to resonate in modern culture. These symbols serve as reminders of the enduring power of myth and the deep-seated human desire to understand the mysteries of life and death. As we navigate our own lives, the stories of these witches offer a mirror through which we can examine our own fears and aspirations. They remind us of the fragile boundary between life and death and the mysteries that lie beyond. The legacy of these underworld witches is not just a reflection of ancient beliefs, but a living tradition that continues to shape our understanding of the supernatural. Their influence endures, reminding us that the quest to understand death and sorcery is a timeless part of the human experience. In the quiet moments of contemplation, when the veil between the living and the dead feels particularly thin, the legacy of underworld witches stands as a testament to our enduring fascination with the unknown. Their stories, steeped in magic and mystery, continue to inspire and intrigue, inviting us to explore the depths of our own fears and desires. Their influence is a powerful reminder of the timeless connection between life, death, and the supernatural, a legacy that continues to captivate and haunt the imagination.